Hi everyone, and welcome to the August plenary session. Today we've got Grandmaster John Emms, who's going to be showing some amazing tactics from his games. He's been the captain of the England Olympiad team, and he's also been British champion in, I think, 1997. So we're in really good hands today, and he's got some great tactics for you. So the same rules apply. If you want to tell your answer, please privately message John, and if you can, me as well. Don't write it to everyone because people will be thinking and it will ruin it. So if you can just try and send your answers privately through, that would be great. We've got a slightly different format today. So we're going to have a break at 10 to 3 and then resume back at 3. Okay, so over to John.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everyone. Hi. What we're going to do today, we're going to have a look at some tactics from my games, actually most of them from many years ago. Actually, some are some more recent ones as well. And we're gonna there's going to be some memorable tactics. There's also some painful ones for me as well. Some missed opportunities. So just a whole bunch of sort of different types of positions and tactics. And what we're going to actually focus on a lot of is like the thought processes, what you should be looking for, and how you should select your moves to consider when you're looking at positions where you kind of feel that there's a tactic either for you or for your opponent, or even if you think in a couple of moves a tactic might arise. So we're going to pay a particular attention to those sort of tactical themes and sort of tactical weaknesses as such. If you or your opponent has a square or a piece that's particularly vulnerable, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So if you just bear with me while I go through this process. And
Right. Somebody's just said they've got a book with John Emms, Concise Chess.
Let's just do that, and let's share again, a new share with advanced. Let's just see how this works.
Yeah. We can only, yeah, perfect.
How is?
Yeah, that's perfect.
That. Okay, let me just move the chat over there. Okay, excellent. Everyone can see that good. Yeah, Sarah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, right. We will start with this is from a long time ago. I was playing a Grandmaster Short Conquest. I had the white pieces, and it's white's turn. So what we're going to start off with here is we're going to look for what's known as tactical weaknesses. Okay, so we should look at the various attacks. We can see there's quite a number of attacks here. The white rook is attacking the black rook on c5. The white queen is attacking the knight on d7. Now, this knight here is what's known as a tactical weakness. And the reason it's a tactical weakness is because it's attacked once by the white queen and defended only once by the black queen. And that makes that knight a weakness, because if the black queen moves away, we can take that knight. Okay, it's particular weakness if it's defended by a very powerful piece like the black queen. It wouldn't be so weak if it's defended by a pawn. Pawns are really good defenders, but queens, they don't like to defend, basically. So that is a tactical weakness. So let's have a look at the black rook. That's attacked once, but it's actually defended twice. So the rook is actually not so vulnerable. Okay, so there's some, I would say now white's got a number of candidate moves, but I would say 2 candidate moves come to mind. Now, candidate moves are not moves that you're going to play. They are moves you're going to consider. Okay, a candidate move, you don't say, oh, that's a candidate move, let's do that. No, you have to consider candidate moves. Now, anyone in chat would like to tell me what one candidate move even? What would be one candidate move? Very good. Whoa. Yes. Excellent. Good stuff. Right. Good. Now, the 2 candidate moves that have been suggested are rook to d1 and rook takes c5. In both cases, white's using a particular type of tactic. Okay. Let's look at rook d1 first. And the type of tactic that white is using with rook d1, of course, is skewer. Yeah. Yeah. So white's using the skewer. Now, before you play the move, rook d1. There's something you would have to do before you actually play the move rook d1. What would you do?
Yeah, you can say this to everyone.
Yeah, you can say it. Yeah, think. Obviously, you have to think. Yes. Yes. Look at all the calculations. And what in particular would you be looking for? What resources for black would you be looking for? Let's assume we know that our rook is defended by a queen. By the way, so let's just assume what type of resources? Defenses. Good. Blocks. Yes. Checks. Yes. Very good. Queen c6, Dylan, well done. Good. In particular, what you would look for here is counterplay by black. Okay. Can the queen move anywhere which creates a threat which is bigger than our threat? Our threat is to take the knight. Okay. That's 3 points in the bag. If black has got a threat with the queen that he can do, which is bigger than ours, then we would have to deal with that. Okay. Also, can he move the rook, make a counterattack? There'd be the kind of things that you would have to consider. This is a fairly easy one, isn't it? Because if he does move the queen, we can escape his attack, and then we can take the knight anyway and win material. If he goes rook c4, okay, would anyone like to suggest a good move for white in the chat after rook c4? Good. Yes, rook takes d5. Very good. Rook takes d5. And yes, a second move as well. Queen takes d7. So rook takes d5, rook takes a4, rook takes d7. Or alternatively, we could go queen takes d7, and we've got X-ray defense. So we're winning material. Yes, very good. Well done, Rakai. X-ray attack. Good. There we go. So rook d1 was winning. Okay. Now, actually, in the game, I didn't do that. I actually played the move rook takes c5. Now, in my defense, this was a blitz game, and we didn't have so much time left. I played rook d5, completely overlooking rook d1, and that's the second best move for white, because in this position, black's to avoid losing knight, black has to take with knight. And can anyone see how white can, capture a pawn, win a pawn here? Queen e8, very good, queen e8. And white won the pawn. But the game wasn't over because black could take this pawn, and we carried on the game. Okay, well done, everyone. Let's move on to, this one's a little bit more recent. This was played in 2018, I believe. This is at the World Senior Team Championships against David Cummings, who was playing for Canada. Let me just get to the position. And here's the position here, knight. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. We've actually joined the position a couple of moves before the actual tactic, but we're going to discuss the sort of like tactical weaknesses and what we should be looking for. So could anyone say any black piece that's a tactical weakness in this position?
Yeah, shout it out in the chat to everyone.
Yeah. Very good. Excellent. Two, yes. Very good. There are two tactical weaknesses for black in this position. There is the bishop, which is unprotected, but not just that, easy to attack. That's one thing you have to think about as well. Just because something is unprotected doesn't necessarily make it a tactical weakness. If it takes about 6 moves to attack it, forget it. It's not a tactical weakness, okay? So that's something you can kind of bear in mind while you're thinking. Don't just look at a sort of piece that's just sort of no chance of attacking. That bishop, it's unprotected, but also fairly easy to attack. The other tactical weakness we've got is this knight here, because the number of attackers, 2, equals the number of defenders, 2. That makes it a tactical weakness, because all we have to do is either attack it again or remove one of the defenders. So we've got 2-2 with the knight. With the bishop, it's 0-0, isn't it? 0 attackers, 0 defenders. Okay. One more attack equals doomsday for black. Very good. So in this position, I actually played, well, I want to see what I played first. I was considering this move, rook a b1. That's a really obvious choice, isn't it? Basically using our rook to attack the bishop. But there are also other themes in this position apart from attacks. There's other. Can anyone tell me another tactical theme apart from pieces being attacked? Okay. Yeah, not really. Okay. Yeah, all the pin, captures, pin, defending. Okay, that's true. One thing you always have to, one thing in chess, when you're assessing a position, you look for material. And one other thing you look for, second thing you look out for is king safety. Very important, king safety. It means that black has got a resource in this position based on king safety. Very good, Hamza. Very good. Pawn structure is about 4th or 5th down the line, but very important as well. Very good, Rakaya. It's the back rank. Kenneth, excellent. Very good. Black can play the move knight c3. In this position, you could argue this is a counterattack. What black's doing is using a resource to avoid me taking the bishop. If I swap rooks and then try to, well, not try to, actually take the bishop, that would be a huge mistake because in this position, black can do a back rank check. Now I can block, but I'm sure you can all see the next move. Shout it out. Excellent stuff, knight e2, and it's good night to the white king. Okay, so that knight c3 would have been a very good resource in that position. I'm going to go back to the actual starting position, and instead of rook to rook a b1, which would be a very natural move, I decided to play the move rook e b1. That also does attack the bishop. Okay, and of course, if knight c3 now, I can of course just go rook takes bishop. Adita, yeah, maybe I should just mention that. Yeah, what about f3? I'll tell you what, I will do that now. Let's just have a look at that position here. So rook f1, knight e4, f3. Okay, that is a single attack on the knight, which means that I think black can just escape simply by moving the knight. It's only the knight that's in danger. The knight could go, well, let's say c3. And I think that black's no longer in any huge danger. Don't forget the rook. This rook isn't attacked. Well, actually, the rook is defended by the rook, so that's just about okay for black. So anyway, rook e b1, I played. And now my opponent made a mistake. I'll tell you what, let's make this tricky. See if someone can actually sort of see what plausible move that black could play here. What a move that but is actually a tactical mistake. This isn't going to be so easy because you're going to have to like guess the wrong move. Now, it's not like a move that just sort of like puts a piece on prise. Well done, Katie. Okay, good stuff. No, it's lots of yes. Well done, Kushal. Excellent. Good. Now, in this position, probably what black should do is just move the bishop to maybe c6, for example. Okay, and maybe probably what I was going to do now is continue attacking the bishop with my rook. And black's, it's a bit awkward for black this position because the bishop's under attack. It's not easy to find a decent square, but maybe it could go to d7, I guess, and the game continues. What my opponent did instead was they used the rook to defend the bishop. That was the mistake. Okay, open to chat. Rakai, yeah, actually that was a good counter-attacking move. G5 a bit earlier. Yes. See, it's easy now, isn't it? Very good. Excellent, everyone. Good. So in this position, we've got now. Do you know what? Okay, what would we call that rook? In tactical, what's the tactical term for that rook? Yes, it is. It's very tired, isn't it? Yes, overloaded, overworked. We can just force it to do one of its jobs, and then it can no longer do its other job. And we win 2 pieces for a rook, but because we also skewer the 2 rooks, do we skewer them or do we pin them when it's the same material? I'm never quite sure. Anyway, we win more material as well. So we're actually going to end up with, with a whole piece ahead. Excellent. Okay. By the way, let's just go back to that position after rook b6. What would happen now if black played rook e6? What move would white play here? Yes, well done. Good. Yes, that's called comparison. Using the same theme. Takes, and again, we win more material. Okay, let's move on to another example. Well done, everyone. Okay, this one is against Klaus Di Francesco. Can't remember where this was from. Yeah, I think this was in Italy somewhere. So we had a position, and let's just go to this position here. So if you can just, white's a pawn up actually already, so things are already doing quite well for me here. But my opponent then just took the pawn back. Bishop takes b2, and now I went rook a b1. Now it's really important actually when you're calculating to actually sort of ask yourself what are the threats, and kind of not just your biggest threat. What are all your threats? Okay. And sometimes also, if you can capture a piece in two different ways, don't just say my threat is to take the bishop. The best to actually say my threat is knight takes bishop, but also my threat is bishop takes bishop. Because then by listing all your threats, it then makes it easier if your opponent makes a counter threat to just compare the threats. And then whoever's got the biggest threat, if you've got the biggest threat, you carry out your threat. If your opponent's got the bigger threat, then you have to either deal with that or make an even bigger threat. So it's very important to do that. So before we do, it's black's turn here, of course. I've played the move rook a b1. But maybe someone could just list what white's threats are. And see if you can list them in order of importance. Thanks, Rikai. What's white's biggest threat here? Well done, Tori. Excellent. Good. So you've all come up with one big threat for white, okay? But there's some others. Let me just have a think. There's one other big one. Yes, well done, Anna. Good. Good. Excellent. Excellent stuff. Now, I'm going to only focus on big threats because now we do have this queen takes pawn, but we've got much bigger fish to fry here, haven't we? Let's think about tactical weaknesses again. What are the tactical weaknesses in this position? Tell me what they are. What are black's tactical weaknesses, rather? Good. Excellent, Hamza. There's more. Excellent. Very good. Let's look what they are. They are the bishop on b2, attacked once, defended once. It is the bishop on e6, attacked once, defended once. It's the knight on f5, attacked 3 times. Don't forget X-ray attack on the bishop, defended 3 times. So there are 3 tactical weaknesses in this position. So white's threats are rook takes bishop, and if queen takes bishop, we take their bishop. We'd check, and actually we win the knight as well. So we'd actually win 3 pieces for a rook there. That's not bad. Our other threat is knight takes knight. And if bishop takes, we would simply go queen takes, keep swapping on f5. And at the end of the day, we take the bishop. So that would just win a bishop. We've probably got others actually, but they're the 2 main ones. Worth noting, of course, here, we could consider captures for black. By the way, if let's say black did do a capture, knight takes g3. Can anyone suggest a good sequence of moves here that white could play?
Okay, don't draw on John's screen.
You could stop that if you are, because yeah,
I think you have to do it your end, John.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Oh, I do. Okay, yeah.
So, but yeah, don't do that, please. It's disrespectful.
Okay, I think it was just an accident.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, excellent. Well done, everyone. Yes, good. In fact, I'm not exactly sure of the whether I think they might both be good. But if in doubt, you basically what you've got this idea of going queen h7 and f takes g3. Oops, sorry, f takes g3. If in doubt, basically do the more forcing line. Queen h7 here. Here, we know that's going to win. That's clear, yeah? Let's just think, if we did f takes g3, I suspect that that's just winning anyway. But if you can't, yeah, I can't see a defense actually, but if in doubt, yeah, it's always good to do the most forcing line, basically. Excellent. So yeah, so my opponent played the move, instead my opponent played the move bishop to e5, moving the bishop so it's no longer defended, sorry, no longer attacked by the rook. However, that wasn't the best defense. Probably should have moved to a3 or c3. Can anyone suggest a very good move for white in this position?
He was obviously trying to block the threat on the e6 bishop.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Well done, Jaden. Everyone keeps wanting to take that B pawn.
We want more than that.
To go a pawn up again, yeah.
Be a good move, look for a better move.
Excellent. We do. Actually, there's another possibility that people are suggesting here, actually, that I hadn't really looked at. So maybe we'll have a quick look at that. But this, yeah, good. Okay, basically, let's think about this. Tactical weakness, that bishop on h5. Oh, sorry, not on h5. Oh, you know what? That bishop on e5. Okay, it's a tactical weakness again. It's attacked by a queen, defended only by the black queen. And as I mentioned before, if it's particular pieces that are defended by a really big piece, that becomes a massive tactical weakness. Let's imagine if there's a pawn on f6, that bishop on e5 would be much, much safer because it's a queen. The queen has to move if it's attacked. So well done to all of you who found the move knight to h5. Simple tactics, just attacking the queen, removing the defender, of course. There's three ways to remove a defender. You can either just capture it, you can chase it away like we're doing here, or you can deflect it, which is similar to chasing away, but often deflection means some sort of temporary sacrifice. So the queen has to move. We would look, as before, we would look for counterattack, wouldn't we? So queen g6, counterattack, excellent. Yeah, we take, and because we're attacking that bishop, we win 2 pieces for 1. Excellent stuff. Okay, even if we just go back to knight h5, we would also still, again, just before we played knight h5, I remember you would always still look for forcing moves, even unsafe ones from your opponent. Just have a very brief look at bishop takes h2 check, just to make sure, you know, it doesn't actually come to anything. It doesn't, but you should still make sure you look at it, forcing moves, especially in a position like this. Let's just imagine this position. You're playing let's say you're playing a rapid play game, 25 minutes on the clock each. You get to this position with 15 minutes each. It's worth spending 5 minutes here because basically, if you work out that knight h5 is winning a bishop, the rest of the game is going to be so much easier, isn't it? So it's basically when you get that position of a high reward, you should make sure you spend quite a bit of time on those positions. Okay, so I think we have quite a lot of suggestions to the move f4, trying to chase the bishop away again, and let's think about this. Could anyone, white's threatening pawn takes bishop for sure. Can anyone suggest a decent defense for black that doesn't lose? We're going to lose that b7 pawn at some stage. So we just don't want to lose a piece. Can anyone suggest a move for black that doesn't lose a piece? Bishop c3. Yes, very good. Yeah, just putting the bishop on a square where it's not attacked. Bishop d6, that's also good. I'm also thinking bishop d4, which actually, if you're able to, why not create threats as well as trying to, again, if you can do 2 things at once, that's very good. Defend and attack. That simply threatens bishop takes bishop. I'm assuming that's a good move, but I'm actually I'm a bit concerned now, actually. That might be a mistake.
That's what I wanted to play.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned because knight takes is actually maybe quite a good move here. But no, it's okay. It's actually okay. But we can take back, can't we? And if white takes, we have the in-between move. In fact, then black wins the piece. Yes. Wow. Good. Yes. Okay. Let's move on. Bishop b8 as well. Good. Okay. Yes, Ricardo, but you wouldn't want to play exactly. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Let's look at this one. Okay. This is against Andrew Webster from the British Championship. In this position, it's a pretty normal position. Both sides got their pieces out. It's level material. Both sides' kings look safe. We have got a few pieces on the d file, which you might want to think about. In this position, my opponent decided to put another piece on the d file. So we only need one. I did think about queen d2 here, because it's not often you're able to get 8 pieces on one file. But I thought it probably wasn't the best move. Now, bishop d6, alarm bells should be ringing. Whether you're black think about playing bishop d6, or whether you're white, if your opponent plays bishop d6, because we have a new tactical weakness, don't we? A piece that's attacked once and defended by a big piece. Right. I'd like people to let me know if you could see any candidate moves for white here. Any candidate moves. That means moves that you would consider. Yes, well done, Bodana and Dylan. Pro. Wow, Katie, that looks interesting. I like that. That's a very interesting move. Okay, we might come have a look at that actually.
What move is that?
Knight f5.
Oh, I was looking at that.
Yeah. Bishop e4. I'll tell you what, actually, one useful thing actually is your first candidate move should probably be, you should probably focus on safe attacking moves before you look at unsafe ones. Now, unsafe moves can be good moves, as he like in sacrifice. Yeah, towel. Yeah, we're not, yeah, exactly. Knight f5 is towel, isn't it? Well, we'll see actually, where it might not be towel. Okay. Very good. We've got some ideas here. Yes, good. Right, so we've got this bishop on d6, which is definitely unsafe. Okay, one obvious choice here is the move pawn to c4, which tries to chase the queen away, doesn't it? Okay, that's definitely a candidate move. Other candidate moves might be to move one of these knights or bishops, which would then threaten maybe some discovered attack with the bishop. Okay, so for example, knight b5 or knight somewhere. I was actually thinking about, during the game, I remember thinking about the move knight b3. Okay, we're talking about, this is a really good point actually. I want you to now tell me what both sides' threats are and who has actually got the biggest threat. It's quite interesting. And again, that'll give you an indication of whether knight b3 is a good move or not. Which obviously both sides can't move at once, but both sides got threats in this position. Who's got the biggest threat? Bodana thinks, okay, yeah. Well done, Adam. Excellent, Torre. Excellent. Yes, is actually in this position. Yes, unfortunately, white does win 9 points, but actually, that's you have to think about what black wins as well in that.
Not all about the queen.
Yeah. 9-8, exactly. It is actually, well, let's have a think. Okay, now black's threat is to win 3 points. I never like calling them points, but let's just do it from this case. Yeah, black's threat is to win a bishop. Okay, white's threat is to win a queen and a pawn for a rook and a bishop. That is actually 2 points, isn't it? Black's actually got a bigger threat. So actually black can carry the threat out. Bishop, takes, knight takes or king takes, and actually if we look at this position here, black has got a small material advantage. Black has got a rook and 2 bishops for a queen and a pawn. So knight b3, even though it's an incredibly tempting move, it actually isn't the best move. c4 is a very forcing move. Now, when I talk about forcing moves, are moves you should always consider. And they're the moves that give your opponent the fewest number of choices. Okay, c4 is a forcing move because it gives black very, very few choices. It also makes them easier to actually calculate. So in this position, black's actually only got one move, which doesn't lose the queen or the bishop. What is that move? You can put it in if you like. What's the one move that black can do that doesn't lose the queen or the bishop? Very good. Yes. Excellent, everyone. Queen to c5. And that is actually the move I chose. Now, I did actually, before I played c4, I had actually had a follow-up. So in this position here, what are white's candidate moves? Good, Rakai. That's a good, definitely a candidate. Good, Tori. Good, excellent, Dylan. Humza. Yes, that's interesting. We love going for the sacks. Yes. Okay. Very, yeah, good. You have to ask yourself though, is that threat bigger than black's threat? Black's got a threat here. Okay. Well, yes, well done, Rakai, and everyone else. Well done, Cushion. Everyone else who basically, again, we're going to do a very forcing move here. We are going to play the move knight to b3. Now, that is not only does it attack the queen, but remember we talked about pieces lined up on one file. We've managed to remove one of those pieces from that line. So when the queen moves, and the queen does have to move, well, actually, in the game, my opponent did actually take the bishop and I won the queen for 2 pieces. But let's say the queen does retreat here. What is white's follow-up now? Yes, well done. Very good. Well done, Badana. We're whizzing through so quickly, I can't get everyone's names. Excellent stuff. Okay, very good. Yes. Okay, we just simply capture the bishop. And then if he doesn't capture, we just won a bishop. So if the queen takes, then we can now win the queen with a discovered attack, winning the queen for the bishop. Well done, everyone. Shall we have a look at some of those other possibilities? They were quite interesting, weren't they? Was it knight f5? Play like Tal, was it? Sorry, bishop d6. Let's have a look at knight f5. Now, we always have to think about what our threats are. Our threats here are knight takes bishop and bishop takes bishop. We also have to think about what we do if they just take our knight.
We don't have bishop h7 now. That's the annoyance.
We jump over that pawn, and then yeah. So that doesn't quite work. What I did like about it though, it did have a nice little idea of if bishop takes bishop, knight e7 check. That was quite nice. So actually, to be honest with you, 90% of combinations aren't actually sacrifices. So you should always, in these sort of positions, you should always actually look at the sort of the safe forcing moves before you look at moves like knight f5. You should also remember that moves like knight f5, I mean, you always have to, this is something you always have to bear in mind, is that it's brilliant doing a flashy move, but you also have to remember, does it have a threat? Now, in this instance, it does have a threat, but I've seen lots of players simply sacrifice pieces where it doesn't actually even have a threat. So the opponent can ignore it. So it's very important to like realize sort of like when you do even when you're sacrificing pieces, what your threat actually is. Do they have to actually capture that piece even? And they might even simply ignore it and carry out an even bigger threat themselves. So that's something to bear in mind. Okay, let's how are we doing? Should we move on to, let's just move on to a different slightly different subject actually. I'm going to talk about pattern recognition. Yeah, I'm going to Humza. I've just got a suggestion there. Let's look at this knight takes e6. That's also interesting. Now, white's threat here is knight takes rook. It's also bishop takes h7. It's also, yeah, lots of threats here. Okay, so I'm going to ask what happens on. Oh, yeah, that might win material, mightn't it? What happens on queen takes? I think. I think white can win. I think white can actually win a small amount of material in this line. Anyone see what white's best move is now? Yes, well done, Tori. Bishop takes bishop. Excellent. And if queen takes queen, our bishop recaptures, and then our rook will be defending the bishop. And if queen takes bishop, we still have this trick again. Good. Okay, now I'm going to go straight to this position here. This is a crazy game I had actually against James Poulton from a tournament called the Lloyd's Bank Masters, which sadly no longer exists. Now I'm just going to start off a roundabout here. It's sort of a weird position. My knight got stuck in the corner on A8. But I came up in this position, and also we're in time trouble here. He's got a brilliant pawn on E6 that's sort of like not great, but I came up with a plan, and it worked because we're in time pressure. I played Queen F6. He played this, and I went here, and he covered the threat of knight to F2 check with Rook F1, and now I played a move. What move did I play here? Well done, Kushal. Jaden, well done. Humzar as well. You should call it the switchback. Very good. It looks like a lot of you have seen this idea. Well done, Badana, Anna as well. Good, good, good. Yes. In this position, I played the move Queen G3. Very, very good. Threatening checkmate. And White's only got in the Stafford Gambit. Yeah, of course. Yeah. White's only got one way to stop the mate, and that's taking the knight. And then we do that switch back with the queen. We're going to talk about this subject a little bit more. A backwards attacking move there. One of the lines, probably quite a few. I can imagine there being quite a few of the lines in the Stafford Gambit. Yes. Very good, Rakai. Now we're going to go on to this. This is what I'm talking about. This is something you might have learned when you maybe not so long ago for you, but certainly when I was very young, I learned this. This Greco checkmate, basically. Very, very important type of checkmate. This is an example of it, albeit an unusual one. But of course, if you do learn these patterns when you're younger, you can then sort of implement in games in positions which look very, very different, but they still have some the same sort of theme. Now, just give an example of the Greco mate. This is just one of them. There are numerous, but this is one of the ones I learned from a very young age from the Scotch game. By the way, this opening I recommend playing for both sides. It's a very good opening because you get your pieces out very easily and very freely. Now in this position, White normally plays the move pawn takes pawn, but E5 is an obvious move in a way. It attacks the knight and not forces the knight to move. Knight to G4, and here probably White should play bishop to F4 to defend. But if White plays the careless move F4, then Black can use the Greco mating pattern, which is bishop c5, king h1. Now, of course, if you didn't know the Greco mating pattern, you would probably just play knight f2 and win a rook for a knight. But in this position, of course, Black's got something much stronger, which is queen to h4, h3, and then queen to g3. And notice this position, the knight is defended by the bishop, so we can't go queen takes knight. And if pawn takes, then we have switch back again, queen h4. Very good. Now we're going to look at, I had this again, I had another chance to do this in another game. And this one's a much more complicated version, actually. So we're going to really get our teeth into this one. Because actually both sides got threats as well. Okay. Certainly in this position, maybe someone could tell me the threats that White has. It's Black's turn, but we can still think about what our opponent's threats are. Very good, Anna. Good. Good, Badana. Excellent. Excellent. The two White threats are bishop takes pawn check and rook takes pawn. Okay. So we then have to decide how big those threats are, of course, yeah? We could obviously defend against the threats, or we could consider our own threats. Now, we know about the Greco mate, don't we? We do know about that. But the problem is his queen stopping our queen coming in at the moment. When you were 5, did you? Good. We've got okay, what I'd like to do now is maybe we'll list some candidates for black. Candidate moves. Again, these are moves that you wouldn't necessarily play. They're definitely ones that you would consider, though. Well done, Katie and Rakai. Excellent. Well done, Badana. Yes, Frank. Excellent. Very good. Even though it doesn't work yet, I like the idea because what we can do, we can keep that in our mind. Well done, Charlie. Luring deflection. Well done, Katie. Yeah, good. We've got a lot. Okay, so far we've got a lot of knight f2s. We've got some rook f2s, and we also had queen takes h3. Did anyone consider that? That's definitely an unsafe move. However, it's a very interesting move, isn't it? The trouble is at the moment, sorry, if white does pawn takes, the idea is a lovely rook h2 mate. The trouble is white can do queen takes. However, we have got that in our armory, haven't we? We know that that's a possibility. Yeah. Good. So which one should we look at first? Tricky, isn't it? There's no easy answer to this one, but we've got rook f2 or knight f2. So we just have to make a choice sometimes, don't you? Yeah. Let's say we make the move
Knight f2.
Knight f2. Yeah, because that's check, isn't it? Yeah. Knight f2 is check. Okay. Now, knight f2. We don't forget we can't actually play the moves out on the board because we're thinking in our head. So knight f2, but we'll do a bit of arrow work, even though here don't forget you can't do this on the board normally either. Okay. Rook f2, knight f2, check. Now, which candidate move should we consider for white first in your calculation? What do you reckon? You should absolutely consider king h2. Yes. Always consider what you believe their best move to be. Yeah. Don't look at king g1 and then sort of like look for for wins that, basically you'll just be wasting time. We know we've got good moves against king g1. So just focus all your attention on king h2. Okay. I'll tell you what, we will play the moves out because, just here. Okay. So it's black's turn here. Of course, this would be in your head, this position. Any forcing moves come to mind? What are our candidate moves here? Knight g4. Yes, excellent. Rakai, and you've worked out, yes, we get back to the starting position. Good, yes. And maybe we could also go bishop takes c3, but we are losing one of our key attackers there, aren't we? Yes, that nearly works, doesn't it? Anna, yes. Anna was suggesting queen takes. We could do a perpetual Rakai, you're right. Anna was thinking about that move. And then some possibilities, some amazing possibilities here. Hoping for some mate. It probably isn't quite mate, is it? King g3. But Anna, you rejected it anyway. Very sensible. I'll just simply reject it because they can do knight queen takes, which just sort of spoils all our fun anyway. Yeah, so it looks like we've got, okay, I'm going to go back. We've got that in our head. We know knight g4. That's also really good for calculation because in the bank now, you have a perpetual check, okay? So you've got that, that's the minimum that you have. And what you have to do is you have to compare that to what you can do in other lines. And if what you can do in other lines is actually much worse for you, you might decide that that minimum of a perpetual check is what the way to go, okay? What was our other candidate move was, oh yeah, rook bb2 actually was also possible. We didn't even think about that. That's certainly possible. But before we look at that, maybe we should consider rook f2 because that creates some threats, doesn't it? It's not check, however. So it does mean that white could actually carry out a bishop takes f7. Oops. Possibility. So this is where we'd have to think about how strong their threat is. Let's just do that move, bishop takes. Is that a strong, is that a big threat, or is that just something that wins a pawn or two? Is that something to worry about? Yes, Jaden, you're right. It's not. We can simply move our king in the corner. And now our threats are very, very strong. Well, let's have a look at this position. We're simply, our threats now actually, are definitely rook takes queen, aren't they? Yeah. In this position. Which move should we consider for white first here? what would be top of the candidate list? Yeah, it's interesting. No one seems to be too worried about black's attack. We've got bishop e6 and bishop takes g6, so the white's candidate moves. That's interesting. Queen d3, yeah. To be honest with you, I would, yeah, okay. Any rook higher, a voice of reason. Rook takes f2. Yes, exactly. To be honest with you, that's probably the move I would look at first for white, because it's like a capturing out of a threat is probably the first thing you should look at, because capturing itself is quite a forcing move. It forces black to capture back in a way. Otherwise, black is material down. Whereas if you make a move like queen d3, like a defensive move, black's got more options in the attack. We're not definitely saying that rook takes f2 is a better move than queen takes d3. It's just the move you should probably consider first, yeah? And let's just do that, shall we? Rook takes f2, okay. What move should we consider for black first now? Very good, Torre. Excellent. Yeah, the most forcing move. Well done, Anna. Excellent. Good stuff. Yes, Sanjay, excellent. We do the most forcing move. Okay. Now, in this position here, the move we consider for white first, again, absolutely is king to h2. And then what's the forcing move we should consider for black? Very good. Knight g4. These are all, it's quite easy in a way, because white's only really got one possible move each time. And now what we've done, because there's no longer a white rook on the back rank, we can come in, there we go, with our queen, and it's actually checkmate. Very, very good. I'm just going to, now this is a really complicated version, basically. I'm just going to show you actually one of the key themes, and that was white didn't have to take on f7. If white were to play the move rook takes rook now, this was my plan. I was going to take here, 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 queen e1. Now here, because white's got a bishop, it's not actually checkmate. White could move the bishop here. Now, can anyone see in this position a way for black to win material? Look, what would be your first candidate move? Well done. Good stuff, Anna. Yes. Most forcing move. Well done, Kenneth. Knight f2. Check. And then just take the bishop. Very good. If white chose to play the move, this is queen to f1 instead. Here we go. Pattern. Familiar pattern? Very good. The queen is no longer on f3. We can play this move. And now we can do the Greco checkmate. Finally, before we go, there was one nice line, and that was bishop takes f7, king takes, and then not bishop takes. Oh, sorry, yeah. Someone actually mentioned it. Bishop takes g6. So white's going for a counterattack. Rook h7, f7. Very interesting. Black's got a check. Black's best move here. What's black's best move? Can anyone see it? I'll give you a chance. That's the second best move, Rakaya. No one's got it yet? The gecko, mate.
Oh, guys.
Well done, Jane Scott. Who's that? Yeah. Excellent. You got it.
Well done.
Good. The move, I think black's got more than one way to win here, but the best move here is this move that someone suggested earlier, and it now works. Queen takes h3. If pawn takes h3, rook h2, mate, and now if rook, this no longer works because we've got a mate there. Good. Rook, I'm not sure about queen g3. That might be good because it's not actually a check, though. I think that white could maybe, let's have a look. The trouble is basically in these sort of positions is that, you know, your opponent starts checking you, you never actually get to do your mate. Yeah, so that's why I always take no prisoners, do the check. Yeah, okay. I've got a feeling this is probably winning for white. It's not actually sure though, because you can do rook takes.
You can't take it with the queen. Because
No, you can't. No, so I'm not 100% sure. The position's just so crazy.
Break. So yeah, the rest, but that's a funny position, isn't it? Yeah, guys, if you want to just take a break until 3 o'clock, and then we'll resume back at 3. Stay on Zoom. We're not going to close down the Zoom. I'll just stop the recording.
Okay, let's go to another game, another position. So let's just get to the position where we were. Okay. I had the white pieces here against Bob Eames, very experienced player from England. And now I just played the move bishop to d2. And how do you become a GM? That will take longer than we've got. Sorry. Okay, for another time. Okay, I just played the move bishop to d2. And this is another tactic that I was able to do because I was aware of the theme basically from a long time from a long time ago. I played the move bishop to d2. My opponent played the move knight to d4, putting the knight into a nice central square. Okay, but knight to d4 is actually a tactical mistake. It allowed me to do an idea here, and have a little think about it and see if you can see what the candidate moves for white are, and also if there's any tactical ideas that you can see. Does black have any unsafe pieces, any tactical weaknesses?
Those of you that have been on the summer camp, we did this idea, so hopefully.
Very good, Humza. Yes. That's true. Yes, that could be a weakness. King and queen on the same diagonal.
No, like square bishop, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's very good. Yes. Again, weaknesses are only weaknesses if they can actually be exploited. So black's at queen and king are actually quite safe from a light square bishop. F6 square is okay for black, isn't it? It's defended twice. Attacked once, defended twice. So probably tactics against F6 are unlikely to work. Good. G7 could be a weakness, but except it's not attacked once and it's defended once. So actually reasonably safe, actually, that the G7 pawn for the moment. If we go queen G4, it might then become a tactical weakness, but it's then black's turn. Okay, but certainly possible. Bishop B6. Bishop B6. Very good. Very good, Kushal. That's a tactical weakness, isn't it? Even though it's defended twice. D8 rook. I would say the D8 rook is pretty safe. Defended twice, attacked 0 times. F8 rook. I'd say that's safe as well. Okay. All right. So anyone now I'd like you to, if you'd like to come up with a sequence of moves for white here. It has to be a sequence.
Yeah, no,
I'm not accepting one-word answers.
They have a habit of doing that, just saying one move.
Yeah.
Detail, please.
Very good, Humza, but after queen d6, I'd have a better move than c5. Very good, Charlie. Think also about what your opponent's best defense is, though. If people have seen the theme now, think about what your opponent's best defense is. They might want to stop it after all. They're not going to be that, accommodating.
They hope chess, hoping they'll play a bad move.
Yeah, that's good, Sanjay. But what happens next? Ah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. I have to, yeah, excellent. Sorry, who was that? Badana. Yeah, we'll come to that. Hadn't thought of that at all. Yes, Anna, that's good. But the trouble is that's a bit airy-fairy. Queen moves, has to move somewhere. Yeah. It might move to a square that means we can't do what we want to do. Ah, Rakai, that's interesting. Rather than actually being a piece up, we're going to be technically a piece up because the bishop's trapped, so it can't actually go anywhere. That's good. So, okay, we'll come to that as well. We've got some very interesting answers. Technically a piece up. I like that. That's more like strategy, isn't it, rather than tactics? Okay, Rowan. Yeah, good. Right. I think we'll discuss position basically now. Basically, a lot of you have seen this idea now of we can push that pawn up to c4. The queen moves anywhere, and then we go c5 and trap the bishop because the bishop's got no safe squares. However, it's not as simple as that because we do have to consider, can the queen move to a square, which would mean that c5, the pawn, could be captured by the bishop? Which square could the queen possibly move to, which would allow black to then take the pawn if we went to c5? Very good. Yes. Okay. And I'm not sure if anyone's actually came up with a, well, okay, let's just play that move. Let's cheat a little bit. Let's just play that move. And basically, if the queen moves anywhere like d7, f7, we can go c5 and win the bishop, okay? But the move we have to consider before we play c4, don't forget, I'm saying before, we definitely have to do it before, because don't forget, pawns can't move backwards, can they? So there's no point going c4 and he goes oh, can't play c5 now. Oh, that's annoying. And then you start thinking, actually, did I really want to play c4 if I can do it? Because he's got a nice knight on d4, now a weak pawn. So you have to do it before. So the question is, have we got a good follow-up? Queen b3. I don't like that idea. Yes, we've got some interesting choices, but there are a lot of yes. Whizzing by. Who said that? Who said that? It was yes. Humzar's come up with the best one so far. Unless apologies to anyone I missed, but Humzar's just come up with the absolute best option. And I think Kenneth as well, but he's just, I think he's typoed that. Yeah. Yes, well done. Excellent. Excellent. Good stuff. Now, there are more tactics in play here. We've got the basic theme of trapping the bishop, but there are also some more tactics. We can play c5, and after bishop takes, we can then use another theme, a pin, can't we? Okay. And then black can even support the bishop by going b6, but then we can PP on the PP with b4, and we win the bishop. Very good.
Chess kid, John.
A lot of chess kid. Yeah, I'd always do that in my spare time to improve my tactics. Yeah, so I definitely recommend that. So there we go. That is a few themes there. The main one being trapping the bishop. Now let's just look at a few. So there were some interesting choices. I think Rakai suggested b4, which does actually, yeah. And the idea is after a6, giving the bishop an escape square, that we would technically be a bishop up. Yeah. That is true. The bishop is definitely out of the game for the moment, and strategically now White's got a good position, but would probably always prefer to be an actual bishop up than a technical one up. But that's certainly possible. I think someone that came up with I can't remember who it was, but someone came up with a very good idea actually as well as an alternative. Let's see, and certainly that was bishop here.
I think with asking why that doesn't work. Yeah,
with the idea, well, maybe it does. We don't even know, but basically it certainly creates a threat. First of all, I guess it'd be better to win a bishop than the exchange. So if black went a6 here, black could just lose the exchange and keep the bishop. But the big question is, what happens if this? Yeah, can black escape without losing too much material? Now, I think I can see certainly two candidate moves for black here that might avoid losing a bishop. Anyone? Any suggestions by anyone? Don't forget, I mean, black's happy to lose the small amount of material. He just want to lose the bishop. Excellent, Rakai and Kushal. Excellent, Kenneth. Excellent, yeah. Very good. Okay, yeah. Very good. The candidate moves to black at a5, which gives the bishop the a7 square. Counterattack again, and also queen b5, which counterattack, which gives the bishop the a5 square. We'd have to calculate a little more. a5 for sure gives the bishop a square, and then this actually seems to like avoid losing anything, doesn't it?
Yeah,
seems to be fine for black. Yeah, queen a5. I'm less certain on, because the a5 gives black a definite square for the bishop. You have to, with queen b5, it's riskier because white could possibly go queen d2. and then the bishop doesn't have a5 anymore, but you might be able to go a5 now, I guess.
Yeah, but also
Yeah.
if you take the bishop, you can take on c7, can't you? So
Yes, exactly. Oh yes, gosh, that's very good, isn't it? Yeah. Yes. So so a5 was the stronger move. Excellent. Right now, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but obviously when I was much younger, the way I'd have learned this idea was just one of the very many versions of what's known as the Noah's Ark trap, where white plays a premature d4, black captures it, and then if white captures back with a queen, we can trap the bishop with this well-known idea. You can put it in chat if you like. Very good. Yeah, I remember winning some games when I was younger doing that, c5, and then c4, and black wins the bishop. And there's so many different versions of that. Did you? So yeah.
Oh yeah, that was an architectural position.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. I must admit, I once remember that I think it's one of the very first times I played the Nimzo Indian, and after a3, I went bishop a5. And for those who don't know what the Nimzo Indian is, when I was one of my very first times I played this event, which I still play now to this very day. I hadn't really known, I didn't sort of know so much about it then. Someone just told me it's a good opening. And then when I went on a3, yeah, Rakai, you prefer the King's Indian. It's true, the King's Indian, you don't get your bishop trapped, do you? I went here, which is not the way to play the Nimzo Indian, and I got my bishop trapped. Bishops are very, very liable to getting trapped in the opening, actually. Especially with so many pawns on the board, the bishops are very, very vulnerable. Knights as well, when they go on the edge. Good. Okay, we are going to look at some more themes. We're going to look at some moves that are sometimes not easy to see. Some people call them invisible moves, but they're moves that you need to, and they're just not for humans. They're not easy to see because there's certain things we don't like doing, basically, and you'll see what I mean. Now I'm going to show you a game I had against Mark Lyle, who's another sort of veteran English player. Stockfish moves require, yeah, because Stockfish and whoever, Alpha Zero, Leela Zero, they have no trouble seeing these type of moves. I had the game against Mark Lyle, played on New Year's Day at Hastings once, and I wasn't in the best shape actually for this game. And I probably should have played something a bit quieter. But I played the Roy Lopez because that's my favorite opening. But he's a very aggressive player, and he played this move. It's called the Schliemann defense. And we got a crazy game, which really wasn't my cup of tea at this time. I wanted something solid, basically. I'll just go through the moves, not with any sort of great analysis. Oh, you play this, Adam, do you? Yeah, it is quite a lot of fun. But I even prepared with this game, and I took a rook, got my queen trapped, but that's all part of the plan. He's going to go bishop g7 and trap my queen. I went bishop b2, and then I'll play bishop a3. And now I gave up my queen for the rook. But because I'm quite a lot of material ahead, what am I at the moment? I've got 2 rooks for the queen. I seem to have loads of pawns more as well. But I was a bit nervous about the queen. I suddenly started getting a bit nervous about its queen attacking. So I did castle. I thought I had it all planned out. He played the move bishop e5, threatening checkmate. I played the move g3. And just a quick bonus point, why is knight takes g3 not a good move? Yeah, simple one word answer, pawn takes, yeah. You're right, that's actually correct. Knight takes, pawn takes, yeah, exactly. Then we pin the queen. So my opponent yeah, my opponent played the move queen f3. And I think I'm still just about okay here if I play the right move. But I thought I was being clever. I played the move rook b e1 because I wanted to go knight takes pawn, basically. Right. What move shook me here, basically? What did my opponent play? Well done, Rakaya. Excellent. Well done, Frank. That's Charlie. That's what I was expecting him to play, actually. Well done, Kushal. Well done, Raya. Rhea? Yep. Well done. Good. I'll give you a bit more time. Or has everyone had a go? Okay. You see, this is yes, well done. I just missed his tactic here. And I think probably one of the reasons I missed it is there's something slightly difficult to see about it, basically. And what I was focusing on was all the captures on G3. So I was focusing on knight takes G3, and I thought, well, this saves me this pin. It doesn't matter, he's got a check. I can just move my king. That's okay. Okay. Likewise, I was also looking at the move bishop takes G3. That's no problem. Again, the rook pins the king. So I started looking at other options for him. And I was also looking at the move bishop d4. That looks very tempting. After all, it does create a threat, doesn't it? The big threat now is queen takes pawn check. And my pawn is pinned on f2. Also, knight takes g3 is a threat. Can anyone see what I had planned against this? Ah, Rakaya, excellent. I don't even know if I had planned that, actually. I think something else looks quite good now. But Raya, well done. Yeah. Kenneth, I think that's probably even stronger than the other suggestions. Yeah, excellent. Looking at it now, I'm trying to I think this definitely did cross my mind, rook e3. It's a very good defensive move. Again, using that pin. So if bishop takes, pawn takes, and I win material. But I think the strongest move here, and I'm pretty sure I was going to play that, was knight takes. Because even though black can now, it does defend the threat of queen takes g3. And if black goes knight takes g3, I've got this move knight to g5 check, winning the queen. So I was all set up, all quite happy. Because also I realized that if black moved the king to threaten knight takes g3, that gave me time to go knight takes g4 and sufficiently defend the pawn. So for example, knight takes g3 now no longer works, pawn takes, and the queen has to move anyway, and I'm quite a lot of material up. The move I overlooked, unfortunately for me, was this move knight to f4. Why did I overlook a move? It's after all threatening checkmate. So it's a pretty obvious move, isn't it? Okay. I think there's a couple of reasons I overlooked that. And one is that it's easier to overlook sacrifices on empty squares rather than sacrifices which capture things. So that's something to bear in mind. They're easier to overlook. So do keep an eye out on those type of moves. Secondly, the main line here, of course, is pawn takes knight. And now the move black does here, you can probably put in chat if you like. Yes, well done. Excellent stuff. Yeah, the move black plays is queen takes f4, simply threatening checkmate. And unfortunately for me, the move I played a couple of moves ago, rook e1, now blocks my other rook on f1, and I can't actually escape the checkmate. It's going to actually be checkmate next move. And the reason I overlooked this move is it's a backwards move. When we look to attack, we always look to go forwards. Backwards attacking moves are more difficult to see, both for the attacker and the defender. So that's something to bear in mind, backwards attacking moves. Also, some similarly forward defensive moves are also easy to miss. So for example, a queen moving, I haven't got an example here. For example, a queen moving from A1, a white queen moving, for example, from A1 all the way to h8 to defend all the way down here is a difficult defensive idea to see, basically. So forward attack defensive moves and also backwards attacking moves. Okay, sorry. Oh. So let's look at something similar. So here I had a game against Miroslav Huska, international master, I believe. We've got reached this position here, and it's white's turn. Okay, so we're going to start thinking about candidates. Candidates for white in this position. I'll just go a quick summary. White's, Rook, I'm going to read that in a second. That's a long, yeah. Okay. CCC, checks, captures, and threats. Okay, yeah, that's good. Working position, white's, black's a rook for a knight up. White's got, and black's an extra pawn, but white's got some ideas. Black's king is a bit vulnerable. Aha, yes. Candidates for white. What we've got so far. Well done, Humza. Yes. Excellent, Kushal. Good. Okay. And also, do we have actually any others? We don't really, do we? So let's think about this move, Rook G7. First of all, it's worth asking ourselves again, what's white's threat after Rook G7? What's white's, tell me just a big threat after Rook G7. It's not a trick question. No, Humza, it's not. It's not, because, yeah, it is. Well done, Kushal. It is Rook takes F7. We have to remember that, don't we? When we're playing a move, we have to think to ourselves, what is the threat? Okay, it is actually Rook takes F7. Okay, that's a big threat, and that's big enough, isn't it, that black has to deal with it. Okay, he can't afford to make any sort of counter-attacking moves. He doesn't seem to have any sort of moves that are going to be strong enough that will be as big, at least as strong as that threat. Can anyone suggest what we would consider for black as candidate moves in response to Rook G7? Excellent, Katie. That's a really clever move. Yes, Humzaz. Yes, good. Yes, but maybe put a letter before the F8, because I can't. Obviously, both black rooks can go to F8, actually. Well done, Kushal. Good, Rook I. Yeah, it's interesting. You're all suggesting Rook A F8, which is actually a really clever move. Good. So after Rook G7, our threat of Rook takes F7 can be met in two ways, either by Rook F8 or a very interesting move as well that someone suggested. Who was it who suggested it? Someone suggested it. Kushal suggested that. Very good, Kushal. Very clever. Very good. And that's actually what happened in the game. Rook G7. My opponent actually did counterattack. He played the move Rook G8. Okay. Very important move. That's a counterattack, isn't it? Because our king's also a little bit weak. Okay, so can you tell me what black's idea is after Rook takes F7? Very good, yeah. Anything else after that, though? Yes, very good, Anna. Excellent, yeah. Okay, yes. So that is the black's idea. Rook takes F7, Rook G1, King D2, Queen takes, and there's lots of checks now for black in this position. My king is pretty bare, isn't it? And I'm a bit nervous about what's going on here. Yeah, I guess if king here, maybe check. Who can suggest a good move for black here? Very good. Yeah, queen c1, securing the queen. That should be winning for black. Someone suggested something else here, and that was this move, which looks very good as well, doesn't it? To take the rook. That's very simple. Yeah. Okay. Maybe king c3 is a better move, but certainly I think that black's at least got. I suspect black's got a perpetual check here with queen c6. Don't take the knight, of course, because well, actually taking the knight is. Oh no, that's not possible because it's mate. Sorry, my arrows are going a bit ski whiff. So, yeah, rook g8, very clever move. Rook f8 was also very clever move. The idea being that if knight takes rook, you can go rook takes rook, and black defends. Okay. So I still played I'm going to go back to this position here. I still played the move rook g7, and this is still a good move. I want you to say why. I want to tell you why rook g7 is a good move, and I've deliberately put it back to the starting position. What did I have in mind to meet rook g8 or rook a f8 with? If you're in any doubt, think about that theme we had in the last example. Well done, Jaden. I suppose I believe your capital K means knight there, Jaden, yeah? Yeah. This is a tricky one. Backwards attacking move. Well done, Kushal. I'm going to put the position in now. Actually, I'm just going to make the next two moves here. Here. White to play. Let's think about the weak points. That's a weak point for sure. That's a weak point. That's also a weak point. Well done, Frank. Okay. Yeah, we can take the rook. Oh, knight d8. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Knight f8. That puts the cat amongst the pigeons. We're going for some smothered mate there, aren't we? It doesn't quite work there, doesn't it? Be great. Yeah. Okay, here we go. This is it. We just do a backwards attacking move. Now, don't forget also, the key thing is here, the reason we played rook g7 is to actually to attack that pawn as well. It's defended only by the queen. We can simply do remove the defender. Knight to d4 removes the defender. The queen hasn't actually got a safe square it can go to stop queen takes h7 mate. So we win the queen in exchange for a rook. I think that's about the best that black can hope for, I guess. So something like rook takes here, and yeah, and white's easily winning with the queen and knight against the two rooks. Okay, black could give a couple of checks, but that's not really going to get very far. As we know, the queen and knight are an incredibly powerful attacking unit. Okay, I'm going to do another one. Let's have a look. Okay, here we go. This is a painful one. I just overlooked a really nice tactic for my opponent here. So we're going to join the action in this position. I've got the black pieces. I was already a bit worried because his knight was on a great square attacking my queen. I swapped and then made queen b6, and then my opponent played a4. So it's level material. White's got quite a nice position though. I can take the knight on c6, but it'd only be left with a nice pawn, which is defended by the fianchetto bishop. So I didn't really want to do that. So we are going to, okay, this will be the final one we'll do then. In this position, I played the move rook to e8, attacking the queen. Now, this one is very tricky, actually, but I had overlooked something, a really nice idea for my opponent. And again, it's like an invisible move because we don't really look for these moves a lot. Certainly knight e7 check, I'd considered knight e7 check. Absolutely considered that. Obviously, I should consider checks. I didn't consider queen e6 rook I, actually, no. Maybe. I certainly didn't consider his move, though. It came as an absolute shock.
It's horrible when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, I only had about 2 or 3 legal moves against. Well, I only had one really move I had to make, so I couldn't. I just had to play it quickly and pretend I seen it. To be honest, there's not even any clues. It's difficult to give any clues in this one because can you think of anything, Sarah? Any clues?
Well, it's easy to give it away with a clue.
Well, I suppose, I mean, basically, of course, what White could do here, yeah, for sure, is that we would talk about threats. So Black's threatening to win a queen for a rook, yeah? Okay, don't forget, it's always important to know he's not threatening to win a queen. He's threatening to win a queen for a rook, okay? So we could consider making threats ourselves, okay? Can anyone suggest a move that we could do that would make a big threat? Well done, Rakaya. A5. Now, A5 threatens to win the queen, doesn't it? Yeah. The problem is that Black can go rook takes queen, and it's check, and then move the queen away. However, once we realize that A5 threatens the queen, we start to notice the Black queen doesn't actually have many escape squares. In fact, it's only got the C7 square. So that maybe gives us some possibilities. And even then, it's not so easy to see. But we realize, though, he has actually got a tactical weakness, the queen. It's lacking in squares. And we can start thinking, well done, Banana, very good. Excellent. What's the follow-up, though, please? What's the follow-up? Yes, Dylan, well done. Excellent. Good. Okay. Yes. That's the key thing. He did play this move. Shock. It was an absolute shock. Okay. And yeah, of course I had to do it. And now, okay, A5, of course, is a consideration. Queen C7, the queen just about escapes. But the key move here is this move, bishop to D8. And that's another type of invisible move. Moving minor pieces to your opponent's back rank. That's not easy. That's not a move you always consider, is it? Moving rooks to your opponent's back rank? Sure. Queen? Yeah, but minor pieces, they don't seem to belong there, do they? Yeah. Only, yeah, apart from if you go knight c7 check and take a rook. Yeah, so bishop to d8. That's really, yeah, that was so annoying. And yeah, it just traps our queen and wins material. I tried my best with b4, but yeah, okay, I was exchanged down. And I think he just played this. The rookie one. That was a very clever move. And yeah, and I went on to win the game. Okay. How should we find these moves in the type of this game? Yeah, well, invisible
threats.
Sorry.
Text captures threats is a good start.
Yes, it is. Yes, exactly. And so in summary, then, I think it's actually very important to always sort of list some candidate moves. It doesn't have to be many. Don't make a long list. It could just be 2, for example. Yeah. Another thing is to make sure that when you consider a move, actually think about what your threat is. So don't just sort of think about a sacrificial move and then say, I do this. Oh, let's say he takes that. That's kind of lazy thinking. It has to be what actually is your threat. Okay. And then you have to compare it to what your opponent's threats is as well. Okay. So that makes it easier when you're actually comparing the threats. And then it's easy for you to make those, or it's easier to find candidate moves and also to analyze them. Obviously, you should always look for tactical weaknesses. So as we said, pieces that are unprotected that can be easily attacked, pieces that are attacked once and defended once, especially if the defending piece is like either a king or a queen, something that has to move when it's attacked, basically. Okay, pieces that are defended by pawns are much, much safer. Obviously, always top of your candidate moves should be forcing moves, and I would just say start off with the safe forcing moves. Don't just for the sake of it just look for sort of sacrifices straight away. Just start with the safe ones, because to be honest with you, 90% of the time it's just like the safe. When I mean safe, whenever a safe move, it just means a move that doesn't lose material. So like something that you can attack a piece with that's protected. Okay, just like an examples we showed. So 90% of the time, that is the way that you will win. You will win material. So start with those, and then you can start thinking about unsafe moves as well, basically. And then also, yeah, just sort of think about sort of like back, forward defensive moves and the backwards attacking moves. Okay, it's not always like sort of like it always doesn't have to always be a capture, like a sacrifice on an empty square as well. Just look for those sort of moves as well. There are lots of them as well, so do look out for those too. I think that's, and obviously always king safety is incredibly important as well. There are so many tactics that involve a weak king, because of course a check is like that's the most forcing move. I would say when you list your candidate moves, when you miss your forcing moves, a check is much more forcing than, like, for example, a threat of checkmate. I think we had it in one of our examples where we could either go queen takes h3 check or queen g3. One of them was a check, which definitely meant it was checkmate. Was queen g3, it still meant, because even though it's threatened checkmate, it looked like such a forcing move, it still meant that our opponent could actually ignore it and start doing lots of checks. So always like list, when you're looking at your candidate moves and you're looking at the force moves, the most important ones to look at are the checks, big captures, threats of checkmate, and then the further on down you have the sort of threats to bigger pieces and then smaller pieces and so on.
Great.
Good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That was really, really good. I hope everyone enjoyed it. So John's going to go now. Thank you, John. Everyone,
thank you.
Stay on Zoom, and we'll go through a few things. So yeah, thanks very much, John.
Thank you. That's a pleasure, everyone. Thank you very much.
Good session. Thanks.